Today we're talking about the role of probiotics in dairy, calves and cows, and a bit of science behind it, a bit of physiology, and how our product MYLO fits into this. I'll be starting off this morning. We'll just do a quick introduction about Terragen, who we are as a company, an introduction about probiotics and MYLO, moving on to calves from birth to weaning, and then how MYLO will fit into this. And then I'll hand over to Joss to talk about lactating cows and how MYLO can be beneficial to them, and then also putting MYLO into your farm, how can we apply it? So who is Terragen? Who are we? We're an innovative agricultural biological company, and we're changing the face of global agriculture by reducing the reliance on chemical-based agricultural products. So modern farming today, there's pressure to meet regulations. We also want to protect the land for future generations, and we understand that there's a lot of financial stress surrounding modern farming today. So as a company, we create biological products that we back by science, and these products amplify nature to improve agricultural practices. We want to develop new ways to approach the challenges of modern farming and also contribute to plant and animal health, and then ultimately leading to a healthier population and planet as well. So as you can see in our purpose, we want to give farmers and growers an advantage with natural, sustainable, chemical-free ways to farm, but also increasing productivity and provide a return on investment as well. And we also want to ensure that our products are backed by science, which is advantageous in a poorly regulated industry. What is a probiotic? So the World Health Organization definition of a probiotic is live microorganisms, which when administered in adequate amounts can confer a health benefit to the host. So you might also hear the term direct-fed microbials or good bacteria. Now, what determines probiotic bacteria and how do they differ from normal bacteria to even bad bacteria or pathogens? These probiotic bacteria can when ingested, can live in the gut, which is obviously an acidic environment. Not only can they survive in that acid, they can adhere to the gut wall and form a biofilm. There they can aid the digestive processes happening in there and obviously improve energy production. They can also help outcompete pathogens through taking away food sources from the bad bacteria or even producing their own antimicrobial substances. And also there's evidence now that the probiotic bacteria, when they line the gut wall, they can actually talk to the immune system in the host. And this is something that's even being sort of looked into further in human medicine. There seems to be a link between probiotics and helping with things such as IBS, and also even supporting the immune system in other body systems, so respiratory diseases, and even in mental health as well. There seems to be links between the gut-brain axis in humans. So it's all quite an interesting time. So that's a probiotic, and that's sort of the basis of what we're going to talk about next. So what is MYLO? MYLO is a probiotic that we've made. It's an Australian-made liquid probiotic, and it contains 3 individual strains of lactobacillus. So you don't need to remember the names, but they're lactobacillus casei, paracasei, and buchneri. These bugs basically have been found to, when they work together really well in the ruminant system, and they confer the most production benefits in that combination. Now, in a drum of MYLO as well, there's also molasses and water. Now this is the bacterial food source for the bugs to survive on. MYLO is targeted primarily to dairy cattle, beef and sheep, so anything with a rumen. And we have a range of sizes, and it is certified for organic farming. There has no withhold periods. And the other thing that we're really proud of is in November 2023, we achieved FAMI QS accreditation. Joss is going to talk about that a little bit at the end, but that is basically a stamp of approval for our production line. So we've got good quality there. Now, MYLO does work differently. It's the same product, but it works slightly differently in calves and cows. Calves obviously have a pretty blank slate when they're born with the microbiome. So MYLO is used to help set that up. And in cows, they obviously have an established microbiome going on there. We're just sort of helping support that. But some of the highlights that we see with calves, we see improved live weight gain, with calves reaching up to sort of 6 kilos heavier in our research on average than those that aren't receiving MYLO. And for adult cows, we're seeing improvements in live weight maintenance during that lactation, and therefore they can energetically provide more milk. And there's also some stuff we're looking into at the moment with methane emission reduction too. And it's cost effective for you guys, and we'll touch on that a bit later too. So dairy calves from birth to weaning. We all know that calf rearing is a skilled job on the farm, which is vital for raising productive future herd members. Calves are often weaned over a period of 10 to 12 weeks, and they're fed colostrum in the first 24 hours. And it's important to understand, obviously, the quality of your colostrum before feeding it to the calves, and that will determine how much they receive in the first 24 hours. Now, after the first 24 hours, their gut basically closes and won't absorb any more of that colostrum, any more of those immunoglobulins, which are going to help set up their immune system. So after that, they move on to milk or milk replacer. Now, the aim of obviously weaning is moving from a milk diet to a solid feed, and the calf's gut actually has physical changes going on as well, which we'll touch on next. So it's a really important time to try and move their gut from an immature state, which can digest milk, to digesting solid feed. There's also going to be roadblocks along the way, of course, so it's quite a stressful period. They're acclimatizing to the calf shed. There's also a few things happening as well, tagging, dehorning potentially as well. And the calf shed, as clean as we can get it, obviously, but they're still going to be picking up bacteria from the environment, which can subsequently lead to disease. The calf, as I said, is born with an immature gut. Now that's on the left of the diagram. As you can see, the abomasum in the immature gut makes up most of the gut. The rumen is actually quite a small component. And there isn't an established microbiome as of yet. So the microbiome will be set up by bugs that they come into contact with, both from their feed and from the environment. When the calf is drinking milk in the immature gut, the majority of this milk is diverted away from the small, underdeveloped rumen via a muscular groove called the esophageal groove, and it goes to the abomasum, where the milk will clot, and then it will get digested over a period of about 12 hours. Water and solid feed don't actually follow that path. They do go into the rumen, and as the calf grows and establishes a microbiome, these microbes begin to digest solid feed that the calf picks at, and it's actually the volatile fatty acids, so the products of this digestion, that help to stimulate the rumen to develop and grow, and therefore it's important that to get this process as efficient as possible, we need a good quality microbiome, and we also need to have solid feed access for these calves to pick at so that they can digest it, or the bacteria can digest it, and help to push the rumen from an immature state to a mature state. The next slide, I think, is a really good visualization of this process. So these calves, obviously post-mortem, 3 different calves. This is the inner lining of the rumen. So the one on the left is a calf that for 6 weeks has only had milk. And you can see that it's an underdeveloped rumen. It's very pale pink, so there's not much blood flow. It's quite smooth, so there's not a huge amount of surface area for nutrient absorption. The one in the middle, again 6 weeks old, has had milk and hay, and you can see it's a little bit darker in colour, so we've got improved blood flow. There's a bit more in terms of the folds and the surface area, but the one on the right is nice and dark in colour. It's got a good established microbiome, it's got a high surface area, so it's just showing you the importance of having grain as well as milk diet for these calves to pick at to help establish these rumens. So how does MYLO fit into this? We've seen in our research that MYLO calves have more developed gastrointestinal organs. So in 2018, with the University of Queensland, we did a study. This study actually got published in 2024 in a journal called Animals, so we're pretty happy with that. This study, basically, there were 44 calves, 22 that were receiving MYLO, 22 that weren't receiving MYLO, so they were the controls. They were housed in individual pens, and they received calf milk replacer twice daily, but they also had access to water and a commercial calf starter pellet, as well as hay. And what we found is that the ones that are on MYLO, they were up to 8% heavier, so 6 kilos on average greater than the ones that weren't receiving MYLO. We actually did post-mortems on 3 calves in the control and 3 calves in the treatment group, and the ones that were receiving MYLO had heavier and more developed rumens and intestinal organs. So even down to a microscopic level, you could see that their guts were actually better developed. The calves on MYLO are also showing an earlier interest in solid feed as well, and they had the ability to be weaned up to 10 days earlier than the ones that weren't receiving MYLO. And we also did fecal testing, and we found that those calves that were receiving MYLO had a more diverse rumen microbiome, which is beneficial for helping to prevent pathogens as well. So the schematic here is just showing you MYLO being a liquid product really is easy to mix into the milk or milk replacer to feed to calves. The rumen and the intestines are starting to colonize with the good bacteria in MYLO. This biofilm that's set up is beneficial to help prevent the pathogens that they come into contact with. The bacteria in MYLO are going to set up in the rumen as well. As I said before, we found that they are sort of the most beneficial in terms of production. So they got real good digestion efficiencies. So the calf is getting more from their food that they're eating. So they're going to improve their live weight gain and then have the ability to cope with solid food earlier and then the ability to wean earlier as well. So what does this mean for farmers? There's obviously a strong positive return on investment when using calves. So if you have the ability to wean up to 10 days earlier, that's going to be 10 days less milk replacer, associated labour costs. Maybe if you're using milk in your calves, you can divert that to the milk companies. So the other thing we often hear, and I'm based down in Gippsland and I've got a fair few farmers using it in their calves down there, they will often say since using MYLO, they will report that they've used fewer antibiotics, and as a vet I think that's a really good thing because there is a huge issue out globally with antibiotic resistance, so if there's anything we can do to benefit that, I think that's a good move. We've done some return on investment calculations. It's something I've been working on quite a bit since I've started with Terragen in the last sort of 9 months or so, and using industry data, so for an average herd, 300 head, with 10 days earlier weaning, if you're using calf milk replacer, there's estimated around about $14,000 net savings in labour and calf milk replacer, and if you're using milk to feed your calves, around about $10,000 net savings there. I've got some return on investment calculators. I'm happy to go through that in the break and have discussions on an individual level after this. For calves, it works out around about $7 for putting your MYLO into your calves for around about 8 weeks, so it's pretty inexpensive as well. And also, if you're not using external labour to rear your calves, these savings equate to the time saved required to raise the calves too, so you can improve efficiencies elsewhere on the farm.